Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi. It's another week. Maasai. This is the week of the telling of the 42 stops that the Bnei Yisrael made in the Midbar in the 40 years. Next, this Shabbos coming up will be Shabbos Mevorchim Menachem Av, benching the month of Av, and then Rosh Chodesh is Monday. Next Tuesday, the week after, is Tisha B'Av. We can't get married and swim and take haircuts till Wednesday at 1 o'clock. That's Chatzos Hayom, because most of the Beis HaMikdash burned down on the 10th, but it started on the 9th. So we're in the middle of the 3 weeks. We'll get to the 9 days on Monday coming up, and Monday is the 9 days. So really, the 3 weeks is not 3 weeks, because if you figure out from Shivos B'Tammuz until Tisha B'Av, it's not 3 weeks. It's just not 21 days. That's why you'll never find in Chazal, or in Poskim, or in Rishonim, or Acharonim, or original literature, never, ever the word 3 weeks. Because it's not true, and Chazal don't tell lies. How much is it? Well, it's 13 days and 9 days. That's not 3 weeks. That's 22 days. So it's called Bein HaMitzorim, between this border, Shivos B'Tammuz, and that border. 3 weeks later, almost 3 weeks later, Tisha B'Av. And these are the 2 weeks. The first 13 days, there's a minhag, not to get a haircut, and not to shave, and not to do this, and not to get married. And then it gets more severe when Rosh Chodesh Av starts. That's next Monday. Then it calls the 9 days. And all these things we had minhagim before. Now it's Isser the Rabbanon. And then the Shvush Chalbo Tisha B'Av is even more severe. 3 days before Tisha B'Av is even more severe. Erev Tisha B'Av is so severe you can't even learn regular Torah on after Chatzot. And Tisha B'Av is the most severe. You can't even wear shoes and you can't sit on the chair. And you have to fast 24 hours. That's called a Tanis Sibur. Only 2 of the 6 are Tanis Sibur. One is Tisha B'Av, one is Yom Kippur. Because the Tanis Sibur has 2 things. You cannot wear shoes, and it must be 24 hours. The other 4 Tanasim, you do wear shoes and it's not 24 hours. The other 4, like Shivos B'Tammuz, Sar B'Teves, Tzom Gedalia, Tanis Esther, they are Tanis Yochid that the Tzibur accepted. Now, if the Tzibur accepted them and you go against them, Yechai Misa B'dei Shemayim. Like in Shulchan Aruch on Hilchos Pesach, if an Ashkenazi eats kitnios, he's Chai Misa B'dei Shemayim. Not for the kitnios, because he was Poreitz Geder. He broke a thing that's already 700 years old. Not for Ashkenazim, not to eat kitnios. Regardless if it makes sense or not, or it was apropos then, but it's not apropos now, Chaim Misa said Shar Tshuva, B'dei Shemayim, not because of the kitnios, because you're Poreitz Geder. Same thing here. If you're Poreitz Geder in the 9 days, you're going Misa B'dei Shemayim. Not for the music you listen to or the meat you ate, no, because you're Poreitz Geder, a Minig Yisrael. Now let's talk about the Seder Maasai. By the way, before I start, I wanted to tell you, I mentioned this on all my Kol Haloshon Shiurim and on TorahAnytime.com the last few weeks. If you want to see the contrast on the 19 questions of Shivos B'Tammuz 3 weeks and Tisha B'Av, go right on Torah Anytime. You have permission for me to print it out, all 1,000 copies if you want, and give it out. The 19 questions and answers on the 3 weeks. Bein HaMitzorim. It's called 3 weeks with quotes because it's really 22 days. And I'm coming out next week, Mir Hashem, with this second sefer in the volume of Gigantic Little Secrets of the Torah. This is going to be called Gigantic Little Secrets of the Torah, or Niflaos HaTorah / Q&A on the 14 Yom Tovim. We have 14 major and minor Yom Tovim. It's going to be a question and answer on all the Yom Tovim, all the 3 Chavrei Golim and the 2 Chanukah and Purim, and that's 5, and Yom Kippur and Yom Rosh Hashanah is 5, and Chanukah and Purim is 7, and Lag BaOmer and Tisha B'Av and Tu B'Shvat and Tu B'Av and Rosh Chodesh and Chodesh Elul and everything. It's going to be Q&A on everything you ever wanted to know. And there's Q&A in the back on Hallel, and Nesias Kapayim Duchening, and Kiddush Labana, a number of other assorted topics. Now, another public announcement I'd like to make. If anyone listening to me, and I got calls from Eretz Yisrael and Toronto and California and Georgia and everywhere, if you are in need of a little more income, something in Parnasa is not going that well, if you want a little more income, maybe more than a little more, just call me on my cell phone anytime, day and night is on, 845-826-4789. This is a grand opportunity for anyone. I wouldn't be announcing this on Torah anytime if it wouldn't be Torah. Because do Gemilas Chasadim for other people is the biggest mitzvah of all mitzvahs. To do Gemilas Chesed for people who need Parnasa. It'll be worth your while to make the phone call. 845-826-4789. Okay, let's go to Maasai. Eile Maasai B'nai Yisrael. These are the travelings, the stops, the itinerary of the B'nai Yisrael in the 40 years. They stopped in 42 places. So it's about 1 year per place. But if you learn a little more, you'll see they stopped in one place, Kadesh Barnea, for 19 years. So it's really 39 years and 42. They stayed in 19 years. So it's allowed, instead of 40 years, about 20 years in 42 places, 41 places. It's about a half a year per place. Some place they stayed one night. Some they stayed a week. Some they stayed 3 months. The average is about a half a year per place. Because 42 places in a half a year is 20 years. Because the other 20 years were taken up by Kadesh Barnea, 19 and a half years. Now, this 4 words, Eile Maasai B'nai Yisrael, the Rosh Tevas tell us about the 4 major places we were, the 4 Goluses. Aleph, Mem, Beis, Yud. Edom, Golus Edom we're in now. Golus Yavan, the Greek Golus. No, Edom is 1. Babel is 2. Eile, we have to go in order. Aleph, Eile Maasai B'nai Yisrael. Aleph, Mem, Beis, Yud. Aleph is Edom. And Mem is Modai, Persia. Beis is Babel. And Yud is Yavan, Greek. And in chronological order, it's Babel, Yavan, Modai, Edom. Babel, they destroyed the first base of Mikdash. We went to Galus for 70 years. Then Yavan, the Greeks gave us a very hard time, drove us out of the base of Mikdash, and we came back. Then Modai, Persia, and then Edom destroyed the whole. No, I'm sorry. Babel was the first base of Mikdash. The second base of Mikdash was Yavan in the beginning. Then Modai, and then Edom destroyed the second base, and they were still out 1900 years already. From the year 70 to 1970 was 1900 years, and that's 41 years ago. So 1941 years, it's not 2000. 1941 years, we're in this Golus Edom of the whole unholy Roman Empire. Aleph, Mem, Beis, Yud. Eile Maasai B'nai Yisrael. Edom, Babel, Modai, Yavan. That's the 4, but in order it's Babel, Yavan, Modai, Edom. All right. So they went to these 42 places. Next pasuk, Vayichtov Moshe es Motzo Ayim. He wrote there, going out, traveling on. You know, it says it's only 11 days from Har Sinai way down in the Sinai desert to Eretz Yisrael. Only 11 days. It took them 40 years. Obviously, a punishment. So they wanted, before they did the sin of Meraglim, they were going to get there in a few days. It wouldn't have been 42 stops. It would have been a few stops, maybe 11 days, maybe 11 stops. But Yichta Moshe's Mot, so Moshe wrote down there, traveling out, the Maasayim, to their camping in. You have to stop at night. Al Pi Hashem, according to Hashem. Hashem said where you should go and where you should stop and how far you should go every day. But Eile, and this the pasuk continues, the Eile Mot Sayim, Maasayim, here are their campings. The Mot Sayim, according to the going outs. And now he starts to list them. We have a tremendous kasha with this pasuk. Why do you say first Mot saw AM going out? L'maasayim, camping in, you have to stop someplace. And then it says, and this is Afi Hashem. Hashem told them where to start and where to stop. When the clouds stop moving, they stop. The Eile Maasayim, these are their campings to their Motu'aim going out. So why in the beginning did you start out with traveling on, Motu'aim, and then Maasayim, and then you repeated the thing backwards? These are their Maasai, they're camping in, to their going out. Says the Maya and Beis HaSheva, my father's Zatzal. It was supposed to be in there 11 days, Mahasina, 11 days travel. About 30 miles a day, 350 miles. Supposed to be there, but they traveled a few days. Maybe they were almost there. In fact, they were Kadesh Barnea, right at the border of below the Sinai. And Moshe sent Meraglim out, 12 people, who came back with discouraging news. There are giants there, so that's not a lie. But then they say, Ephes, we can't do anything about it. We can't capture the land because they're giants. We're in their eyes like chagovim, grasshoppers. Really? Hashem didn't split for you the Yam Suf and speak to you from Sinai, from heaven? Doesn't have month falling every day for a year? Took you out of Mitzrayim, the most powerful country in the Middle East, and the Egyptian army couldn't do a thing, and then they thought it over 7 days later. They came after you, and all of you were saved, and all of them drowned. 1,800 horses, because every wagon, 600 chariots had 3 horses. Minimum 1,800, because they had other second-class chariots too. These were the top. All drowned, thousands of people. And not one Jew drowned. And you spoke Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael. God's not capable of bringing us in against these giants. So since you spent 40 days there, you're going to spend 40 years in the Midbar. 1 day a year you will mourn for that. On Tisha B'Av, that happened, by the way. That day when they spoke Lashon Hara was Tisha B'Av. And 1 day a year they died. So you need 39 days. That's 39 years. 1 day a year they died. If you divide 603,550 males between 20 and 60 into 39, you get about 15,000 every Tisha B'Av. A lot of people in 1 day. And only people who died, who came out of Egypt between 20 and 60. If you're 19 and a half, you made it. There's the show. If you were 61, you made it. Everybody who came to Eretz Yisrael was either 59 years old or 101. Nobody arrived there between 60 and 100. Because between 20 and 60 is a 40-year gap. And 20 and 40 years later, 60. So if you were 20, you were not 60 years old. You were 59 and a half or 101. So my father says like this. Before the Chet of the Meraglim, the main thing was going out and getting there. The main thing is Mozo AM, to go out, the next step, get there, and then they have to camp. Okay, but the main thing is getting there. Once they did the Meraglim, the whole thing is backwards. The main thing is Mozo AM, where they can delay them, stay in a place a year, 2 years, 19 years, one place, 6 months in one place. Mozo AM, to delay them in their stops. Then you have to go a little further. Sometimes they went back back to the Red Sea. But before the Meraglim, the main thing was Mozo AM, getting there, and to Maasai, and then you have to stop a little. After the Meraglim, the main thing is Maasai, the delay tactic. Camp here a little longer, a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years maybe. Then they had to travel a little bit further too. That's my father's Chiddush. Now we mention some of the names of the places. The Yosef and Ramses, they came out of Ramses, the last city in Egypt. B'chodesh Rishon, on the first day of the year, Nisan. B'chamisha Asar Yom, on the 15th day, Pesach. B'chodesh Rishon of the first month. Why do you have to say that again? Chodesh Rishon, Chodesh Rishon. Yosef and Ramses, B'chodesh Rishon. B'chamisha Asar Yom, B'chodesh Rishon. Why do you do this? This is the first month for Jewish people. The first month of the year is Tishrei. That's when Rosh Hashanah is, the beginning of the year. That's the beginning of the year, not the beginning of the month. Because you have to blow shofar on the first day of the 7th month. That's Rosh Hashanah. Chodesh Rishon, Chodesh, first month to Jews. Not only now, even after you're in Eretz Yisrael. Even forever. Even after Mashiach comes. Nisan is number 1 for Jews, not for them. And Tisha B'Av, Rosh Hashanah is the first day of the 7th month. Yes, the first day of the year, but the 7th month. A circle can have many beginnings, you know. You can start here, you can start here, you can start here, but it's going to always come back to where you started. Here to here, and here to here, and here to here. So you can. Doesn't the fiscal year have that? June 31st is the end of the. You close your books. the books, and the taxes April 15th, and the year is the calendar year is December 31st. So we have not only 2 Rosh Hashanahs, we have 4. Arba Rosh Hashanah. We have first day of Elul, the first day of Tishrei, and the first day of Nisan, and the first day of Adar for Peirah, for trees. We have 4 Rosh Hashanah. That's how the Sefta Rosh Hashanah starts. Arba Rosh Hashanah. The 4 Rosh Hashanahs. The circle can start at any point for different reasons. So, here's the name of the place. Ramses was the last place in Mitzrayim. By the way, Ramses represents the past history of the Jewish people, and the first place they went to was Sukkot. Sukkot represents the future, because Ramses is 430. Means from the moment Hashem told Abraham, and when he was 70 years old, that was 30 years before Yitzchak was born, and Yitzchak was born on Seder night, 15th of Nisan, and they got out of Mitzrayim exactly at the same second, 15th of Nisan, 400 years later, so 400 years plus 30, because God spoke to him at the age of 70, and it was called Bris Bein HaBesarim, between the meats, covenant between the meats, and 30 years later, he was 100. So 430 years was the past Jewish history. It started at the Bris Bein HaBesarim when he said, your child will be a slave in a land not known to them. He felt depressed. That's part of Tsar. You're in a state of Tsar. You're in Mitzrayim. Germany is also Mitzrayim. Spain is also Mitzrayim. Any place that calls you Tsar is Mitzrayim. They were in Mitzrayim 430 years. 30 years Abram knew about this before he was born. Then when he was born, everybody made fun of Yitzchak. That's why they called him Yitzchak. Tzachok, laughter, mocking. They called him Yitzchak. You know why they called him Yitzchak? Because we're going to have the last laugh. They laughed at us, but we're going to have the last laugh. Because we'll survive, they won't. So 430 years is the past Jewish history. And then, of course, it went to Yaakov, and then went to Mitzrayim 210 years. And by the time out of Mitzrayim, 430 years were over. Then started the new phase, 480 years. 40 years in the Midbar, and 440 years in the Eretz Yisrael, before you had a base of Mikdash. So before you had a base of Mikdash, it's 440 years. And 40 years in the Midbar. That's 480 years. Sukkot is 480. Ramses represents the past Jewish history, and Sukkot represents the future Jewish history. Ramses and Sukkot, 430, 480. Now let's look at some of the places where they came to. Let's see if the names tell you something that, what happened there. But Yisum Ramses, they came out of Ramses, the Chodesh Rishon, on the first month, Kamish Osir Yom, on the 15th day of the first month, the next morning after Pesach, the next morning, Yosef and Esau, then Esau went out, B'yod Ramah, with an outstretched hand. Everybody was afraid of them, even the Egyptian army. The money they had of the Egyptians, they gave them gold and silver and diamonds. They had everything. Because they gave it to them. They felt guilty. God put in their heart, into the Goyim, guilt conscience. They gave them everything. And God took them out. Nice. Everybody was afraid of them, deathly afraid. And they went out, in front of their face, they couldn't do a thing about it. God, the Egyptians were burying those that got smoked, all the firstborn. Now let me ask, my father brings it down also, why were they burying? Egyptians don't bury. They embalm. Do you know why? When Hashem destroyed all their images made out of gold and silver and copper and stone and wood, and smashed, they all collapsed. They had such a pocket of the Jewish people and the Jewish God. They realized their gods was nothing and zero and worthless. They gave up their avodah zarah of embalming. They buried them like Jews do. That's the nace. They abandoned avodah zarah. It says for a time, for a while. They even buried their people. Egyptians never did that. You see, the Yosef wanted to embalm Yosef and Yaakov, and the pharaohs. All the important people and Bechar were four important people. Every culture, even non-Jewish culture, the firstborn is special. American Indian chiefs are firstborn. Every Goyish nation knows that. These are the important people. They started to bury the Bechar. My father brings down the Sefer. They gave up they thought their religion was nonsense, because you see what God did to their idols. The Kabrin, bearing Shehiko Hashem, that God spoke Bohem. Then, you know what the Medrash said? When the last minute, the firstborn will realize they're going to get killed. It was all because their fathers enslaved the Jewish people. The Egyptian Bechorim killed their fathers. They killed their fathers. Then Hashem destroyed the Bechorim. That's what's going to be lost in Lovo, it says. But before Mashiach comes, nations will kill each other. Don't you see that since last January in all the Middle East? How the Muslim nations are killing each other themselves. All the countries, Syria, all over. Egypt, Yemen, all over. That's a simonim of Geula. Here the Bechorim, they realized the fathers got them into trouble by enslaving the Jews, therefore the firstborn are going to get killed. They killed their fathers, Bochem. They killed their own fathers. And then the firstborn got killed by Hashem. Kol Bechor, Ulaheim Asa Hashem Shvatim, and against their gods, God did miracles. Yosef and Esau, Ramses, Yachnu, Sukkos. They came to Sukkos. Remember I told you Ramses 430 and Sukkos 480? That's so. Sukkos is one. The Yosef and Sukkos, Yachnu, the Esau. They came to a place called Esau. Ashibik Seh HaMidbar, which is in the corner of the Midbar. The Yosef and Esau, Yoshua Piachiros. They came to the mouth of Chiros, freedom. Meaning between two big mountains there was a pathway, the opening between two rocks. And Chiros means freedom. The mouth of freedom. Aryeh Kaplan calls it Freedom Valley. They went right through, and the guys were waiting for them in the mountains and the caves there. When the Jews come by underneath, they're going to drop boulders on them and kill them. You know what happened? Before they came to that pass between the two mountains, Hashem made an ace. He took this mountain that had a lot of caves in it, and this mountain that had a lot of projections in it. He brought the two mountains together, and the projections fit directly into the caves and crushed them all dead, and the blood was running down the side of the mountain. And the Jews saw that. They saw it as a Neis Min HaShamayim. It's not hard to be a mom when you live through times like that. Piachiros, that's the opening of freedom, Freedom Valley. People started to realize how Hashem takes care of them. Ashal Panei, Baal Tzavon, in front of the idol. One idol remained from Egypt called Baal Tzavon. The Yachnu Lefnei Migdal, and they camped in front of this Migdal, this tower, this statue. Baal Tzavon, God left it. All the idols in Egypt collapsed. Stone and wood and churches and mosques, everything collapsed except one Baal Tzavon. God did that on purpose because the Egyptians saw the Jews will get out of Mitzrayim. After 3-4 days, they got a report. Baal Tzavon stopped them because they were going toward Eretz Canaan, and they turned back and went to Baal Tzavon. Some had idol in the desert. They said, "Let's go get them. They're lost their way because Baal Tzavon stopped them." God wanted that. You ever heard about switch and bait? When you bring you into a place and meanwhile they don't have they just baited you, but they don't really have the goods just to get you there. This is the type of switch and bait. Hashem baited the Egyptians. Come on out. Look like God abandoned them. You're coming back to Mitzrayim. They don't know where they're going, the Jews. They're going back to Egypt. They lost their mind. God abandoned them. They must have done a big sin against their God. They start coming back. They said, "Come on, let's get them." You got 600 brand new chariots, like 600 tanks, with each one had a minimum of 3 horses. 1,800 horses, plus hundreds of other chariots, and thousands of soldiers. And he baited them out, and they came out, and they met the Jewish people 7 days after Pesach at the Yam Suf. At the 22nd of Pesach. That's Shvi Shel Pesach, the 7th day of Pesach. And we say Shira, you know why? Because they drowned in the sea, we walked through. That's why you say Shabbat Shira. When that comes that time, a week after Pesach, Shabbat Shira, the last day of Pesach, is Shvi Shel Pesach. The Egyptians were baited in. The Jews went through. Moshe split it. They went in on like marble. They didn't have to fall down thousands of feet. No, the bottom came up and solidified. They walked straight across, and then there was this big, thick cloud between the Jews and the Egyptian. It was like it was an anan. It was thick as a mattress. All the arrows were caught right in that thick mattress, like a mattress. Anan, the cloud, and they couldn't touch the Jews. When the Jews were on the other side, the cloud went away, and the Egyptians went right straight through. And when they got to the middle, Hashem told Moshe, "Take your stick, the stick of Aaron, but it has Hashem's name on it, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and touch the Yam." And it all came collapsing on them. They got killed by concussion because the walls solidified into ice. Concussion, and then it melted. It drowned, and they drowned. We sing the shir. Hashem, the Malachim wanted to sing Shira. Hashem said, "You be quiet." The Bnei Yisrael can sing Shira. It says you're not allowed to rejoice when your enemy falls. The Malachim were not being pursued. They have no right to sing. Jews are being pursued, and they wanted to kill the Jews. Don't you think it's a great thing when God kills your pursuer? Sure, you have to be happy that you were not killed, because they would have caught you, they would have killed you. So God saved your life. You're not happy? Rabbi Victor Miller used to say much like this: you're at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're somewhere in Brooklyn, deep, and you're down some tiny little street, alley, and you look behind you, there's a guy running with a knife, and he's screaming out, "I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you," and he knows you just took money out of the bank maybe 5 hours ago. You got $1,800, he knows that. He runs after you, you're running for your life, and he's running behind you, this big guy. And he's almost got up to you because you know you'll be dead in 2 minutes. He got up to you, and the last minute it screams. You turn around, he slipped and stabbed himself with a knife. You're not happy? Hashem made a nace. Of course you're happy. You're going to make a suda sodo. You're going to be called up again to give the shul $1,000 or $5,000. You just got saved. Then you're not happy? Of course you're happy. But when the fall al tismach, that means something else. He's your enemy. He's not pursuing you. He doesn't like you, and he has a bad mazel. Don't be happy. The guy's right behind you trying to kill you. 20,000 Egyptian soldiers are behind you, 100,000. You're not happy that they drowned? Of course you are. But the person's not pursuing you, and he just happens to be somebody who doesn't like you, and he has bad luck. Don't be happy. Don't be happy. But here, yes, we have a Shabbos Shira. The Yisrael they went from Freedom Valley. They went through the Yam. Out into the Midbar. They went 3 days. The Midbar Esom in this powerful Midbar, Yaknu B'Mara, and they camped in a place called Mara. Mara had no sweet water, only Mar, bitter water. So Hashem told Moshe, bitter water. Take a piece of olive wood, which is bitter wood, and throw it into the bitter water, and the bitter become sweet. 2 negatives make a positive? You know that in Torah. Ein miyud achar miyud elder l'rabos. A negative and a negative means a positive. Don't you know that in math? -4 times -3 is +12. Anyhow, so Moshe made a nace, and the water became sweet. They used some Amor of Yemer, but you go Elimo. They came to a town called Elimo. Interesting, Elimo. Look at that. Elimo, Aleph Yud Lamed Mem Hey means Elimo means 2 Elim. Aleph Yud Lamed Mem. How much was Aleph Yud? That's 11. How much is Lamed Mem? 30, 40, 70. And in Dikduk, and in Gematria, you can always add 1. It can be +1 or -1. So Aleph Lamed, Aleph Yud is 11, but it's 12. 12 and 70. 12 springs were there, and 70 date palms. That's why they called the town Elimo. 12 springs of water. Mayim, B'Shivin Tmorim, and 70 date palms. 70 represents the Sanhedrin 70, and 12 springs, every shaded has its own spring. Now you can ask me, how do you play games like this and add 1 when it's convenient? You never add more than 1, only 1. I'll tell you why. When you drive in a car and you have a speedometer and the guy says, okay, over there, 10 miles, you turn off, make a right. And you look at your thermometer, it says 28,460. You know when you get to 28,470, it's 10 miles, right? Right? Well, my friend, it could be 11 miles, because the beginning of 60 to the end of 70 is 11. It could be the end of 60 to the beginning of 70, it's 9. So the average is 10. So it could be +1 or -1. That's why Gematria could always be +1 more or -1 less. Never more. Or like you say, now it's 3:30, I'll see you at 3:40. Does that mean in 11 minutes or 9 minutes? 3:30 to the end of 3:40 is 11 minutes. The end of 3:30, beginning of 3:40, the first second of 3:40, the last second of this is only 9 minutes. The average is 10. So you see that Gematria could be off by a +1 or -1. So they came to a town, Elim, Aleph, Yud, which is 11, which is 12, and Lamed Mem, 30, 40, 70. They had 12 springs and 70 date palms. That's why it's called Elim. The Elim stem as a Yam. Yisam Elim, Yaakov El Yamsuf, and they went to the Yamsuf. Now, shame. By Yisam Yamsuf, Yaakov, Midbar Sin. Midbar Sin. Why not Sinai? Because in Sin, to make it Sinai, you need one more Yud. Sin, Yud, Nun, Yud, right? How do you get one more Yud? You added one more Yud. How come Midbar Sin was called Sinai? Because in Midbar Sin, they got the Seres HaDibros. That made it Sinai. One more Yud. Also, Sin, how much is that? 60 and 1 is 70. And 70 and 50 is 120. In Midbar Sinai, Moshe spent 120 days on Shemayim. 40 days and 40 days and 40 days. 120. Yisrael Midbar Sin, they traveled Midbar Sin. Yachnu Bedovka, in a place called Dovka. Dofak, beating. The heart was beating. What was the heart beating for? They had no food because they were 30 days out of Mitzrayim and all the crumbs of the matzah had disappeared. Now there's no food. Oh, what did they have? They have no food. The heart was beating. Dofak means to pound. They thought, Dofak Libon, they thought they had nothing to eat. What happened? Next step. They came to the place where they made manfal and they mixed it with water. Lushiva, the same goes, makes wafers, bread. They made out of man, alush. Lush means lushiva si ugos, make cakes. That's what you make with man. You mix it with water, you get bread. Alush. Some say that alush was was built by one of the giants. You know there were 4 giants, Sheshai, Talmai, there were 4 giants. Sheshai built Alush. Now Sheshai, you know what the gematria of that is? Yeah, where is that? Sheshai is 620. 6 and 2 is 8. Me'alush is 377. 7 and 3 is 10, and 10 and 7 is 17. 1 and 7 is 8. Oh, so Sheshai built Alush. Interesting. Yes, it had the name Alush to make Alushi Vasi Ugos make cakes. We know that. That's another reason. They used them Alush v'yachnu v'refidim. They went to refidim when their hands were rough. They didn't know if God is amongst them or not. Hayesh Hashem b'kibeinu im ayin. Is God really with us? They were again a few days without water. They were rough yodam. They were weak in their grip of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem sent right away a punishment. Amalek. And Amalek is bloodthirsty, wicked people, and they were going to wipe out the Jewish people. No nation had courage to attack the Jewish people in the Midbar except Amalek. Where did he get the courage from? Amalek got the courage because he's Yaakov's brother. Yaakov had a brother Esau, who had a son Eliphaz, who had Amalek. He got the chizuk from his uncle. Jewish people have tremendous amount of confidence. That's why Israel is the most successful country in the Middle East. More cell phones, more newspapers, more universities, more yeshivas, more everything, more children than any other place in the world. Oh, I know they have 40 children, but they got 10 wives. We have 1 wife. And they go to Eretz Yisrael, you ask someone an opinion, they'll tell you, well, how do I get over there? Make it right. Yamina, smaller, Yamina. Another guy comes, no, Yamina. And you drive away, these 2 guys are having a fight. Everybody's opinionated over there. They all have strong opinion. Yes, we do, until this very day. That's why you say Rishonim don't agree with each other. The Ramban says about Rashi, Aini, not so. They have a lot of koyach. People are very strong, very opinionated, that's why Abai and Rabbi are always fighting. Rav and Shmuel, by Shimon, by Sham, by Zillah, because we're independent thinkers. We're tough people. Rafina, they got Rafa, and weakened guys. God amongst us, or Molech came and Moshe put up, he kept his hands up the whole day until Yeshua defeated them. So why did Amalek attack them? Because they're very brave, bloodthirsty criminals. That's why you have to destroy Amalek before Mashiach comes. Everyone remembers of Amalek, you have to wipe out. They're the most subhuman people in the world. You got to wipe them out. Not all Goyim, not all children of Esau, only that strain. Esau, Eliphaz, Amalek, that line. He had other children. Got to wipe them off the face of the earth. Mocha Timcha, off the face of the earth. They're very wicked human beings. They had no water to drink. After they got the Torah with the extra yud, the graves of the lusters, people who they didn't want to eat this man anymore. Every day, this lan here, give us some real food. I said, Hashem said, what do you want? Oh, you want birds? Okay, the quail came in, the sloth came in. They had birds. Every single person that took a bite of the sloth choked to death. No tzaddikim even touched it. And it says more people got killed by concussion than by eating. They birds banged in their head. Why would you not want to eat lechem in hashamayim? You want to have regular food? Hashem says, okay, I'll give it to you. Like he's giving you enough rope to hang yourself. No tzaddik touched it. The Rishayim, the Erev Rav, they died. Miriam was out of the chotzer because she spoke Lashon Hara. Rismo's burning fire. That's the Lashon Hara of the Meraglim. They spent, because of this, they had to spend 39 years. God was furious. Okay, it goes on and on and on and on. I want to talk to you about another point in the Parsha. Here. What? I know? Yes. 5 minutes, we're going to finish. Let me give you one more thing. The borders of Eretz Yisrael. Ooh, now we get to the borders of Eretz Yisrael. We're not talking about Israel. We're talking about Eretz Yisrael, which is like 4 times as big. Say to them, when you come to the lands of Canaan, this is the land that's going to fall to you, the border. But Nachala, with inheritance, Eretz Canaan, the land of Canaan, and all its borders. You start from the bottom, south. Midbar Sin, from the bottom, the Midbar down there, Sin. Edom, which is next to Edom. The borderline starts, the bottom of the Dead Sea. Kedma, it's on the east side of the Dead Sea. Then it's going to turn this way, go to the Mediterranean, up the coast, all the way past Lebanon, almost up to Turkey, some of Syria, like this, and back to Yarden. It's going to go clockwise around the country. Okay, yeah. And Gvul Negev is Yam, from the end of the Yam HaMelach, the Dead Sea, Kedma. It's on the east side of the Dead Sea, then it goes this way. On the east side of the Dead Sea, there's a little river called, Nachal Zered. Right there it starts, and that's where it ends. You go from there, you go down a little bit, Malach Chlabim, if you know the geography, and then you're going to go to the west and up the Mediterranean. The Gvul B'Negev L'Malav Akrabim, from the Akrabim steppes. There was the mountain steps. You had to go down, and you have the place where the scorpions live. Malach Akrabim. Over Tzina, when you look on the map of by Arya Kaplan, Living Torah, right here, they show you a map. Without that, learning geography without a map is like learning Chulin without knowing what the inside of a cow looks like. You're just wasting your time. You don't even know what a spleen is different than a liver. But if you don't know the geography, you have to get a geography map, and this is Torah. So you take the map and you start doing it. Now let me tell you the whole thing. They went like this, went Malach Kravim and Kodesh Barnea, and up to the Wadi El Arish, which is called Nachal Mitzrayim, not Nahar Mitzrayim. Nahar Mitzrayim is Anayel. The Nachal Mitzrayim is the end of Egypt, end of the Nile Delta. It's Wadi El Arish. If anybody's listening to me, whoever was a soldier in the Israeli army, you know where the Wadi El Arish is. And that's at the bottom of Gaza. You go up the Wadi El Arish to the Mediterranean. Rashi says into the Mediterranean, 100 miles. All the islands belong to Israel. In the Mediterranean, before you get to Cyprus. All there, straight up, way up. 100 miles above Akko. All of Lebanon. Way above, way almost to Turkey. And then down, part of Syria, back this way, and down the Yarden. According to this, it's about 4 times big as we have today. That's nothing, because Mashiach comes is going to be from the river, Yarden, till Nahar Paras. Would you like to know where that is? The Paras is the Euphrates. Ever heard about that? Well, it happens to divide Iraq and Iran. Well, from the Yarden to there is 380 miles. That's going to increase the country 100 times. That's right. All of it is Eretz Yisrael. It's going to be Eretz Yisrael. The Nahar, from the Yarden till the Nahar Agadol, Nahar Paras, Euphrates. Why do you call it Nahar Agadol? These 4 rivers came out of Gan Eden. That's the last one. That's the smallest one. Gichon, Pishon are bigger. Why? The big river. It's the smallest of the 4 coming out of the Gan Eden. Well, what the first one is Gichon, Pishon, the Nile, the Amazon, few of them. And this is small. Why is it called Nahar Gadol? Because it's going to make Eretz Yisrael very Gadol, that's why. 380 miles, the whole country house at 55 miles wide. After 1967, before that was 9 miles wide. Now it's 50, maybe 90 kilometers, 50 miles. Now it's going to be 50 plus 380, 420 miles wide. All of Lebanon, way up there. Probably the country will be up, I don't know, 200 times as big as it is. Hours. You should read this. It's unbelievable. Now, I want to tell you something. The border went clockwise. Why? You said, well, it has to go one way. Well, how come you shake a lulav also clockwise? Right? If you're Ashkenazi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you go clockwise. How come everything else in Yiddishkeit goes counterclockwise? According to, if you're an Ashkenazi, the tefillin go counterclockwise into you. That's one. The kala goes around the chassan counterclockwise. You go to any chasna anywhere in the world, they dance counterclockwise. The kohen goes up every morning on the kevesh, and he goes to the right hand corner, and he goes to the end of his bear, puts blood here, makes a left, a left, a left, a left, counterclockwise. How come you come into the base of Mikdash, Kohen comes in this side, here's the shulchan, here's the Hazor, here's the menorah, comes out counterclockwise. How come in Hebrew writing is counterclockwise too, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, then you have to get to the next line. You go like this, counterclockwise. You always go to the right. It means you start out Aleph, Beis, to right to left, but then you go to the right again. When your cousin turns around in the shul to make a kofas, his back is to the Arna Kodesh, and he goes to his right. And he comes to the end of the room, makes a left. Left, 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 left. All left. Always counterclockwise. Do you know that all the planets go around the sun counterclockwise? Do you think there's a reason to this? I want to tell you something about Yosef. When it comes to Gashmias, it's clockwise. When it comes to Ruchnias, it's counterclockwise. Holding a lulav in your hand is Gashmias. We control nature. Eretz Yisrael is a very Gashmiistic thing. It's described clockwise. However, when you talk about Ruchnias ideas, when they dance around the Chakala, there's no line or mark left. It's a concept, a Ruchniistic concept, counterclockwise. You dance counterclockwise. Hebrew writing, counterclockwise. You come to the end of the line, back to here. Next line, counterclockwise. All the planets go around the sun, counterclockwise. The earth spins clockwise, but it revolves counterclockwise. This is a very deep subject I want you to know. Counterclockwise CC. A good way to remember a thing is, to a Goyish mind, everything we do is cuckoo. You Shabbos do absolutely nothing, and that's the greatest reward. Nothing. Nothing. And that's how you get Olam Haba. If you turn on the light, you Chaim Misa. How does that register in the mind of a normal person? 24 hours a week, you do zero, you're Shomer Shabbos. You walk outside with a book, you Chaim Misa. Under certain conditions, if it's a Shus Rabbi. How come this is that's counter, you get everything for doing nothing? All during the week you have to work. But in Shabbos you can't do any constructive activity, 39 malachos you can't do. You can't do any of them. And that's how you be a Shomer Shabbos. Isn't that interesting? On Shabbos morning, when you say after Baruch Hu, you say Tikanto, Nishman Esra, Tikanto Shabbos, those words are backwards Aleph Beis, Tov, Shin, Reish, that Kanto there, and Musaf there, on Shabbos, it's backwards Aleph Beis, on Shabbos. Backwards to the Goyish mind is backwards. How can you get reward for doing nothing? Okay, Rabbi said I did enough. We're finished for today. And just think about that. Counterclockwise and clockwise. It's an interesting concept. Have a good Shabbos, and I hope you are not too hot this week, and we'll see you next week. Amir Hashem.